February 2005. An FBI agent knocks on a suburban door in Michigan. The young woman who answers learns that her father, Dennis Rader, church president, Cub Scout leader, the man she trusted completely, has been arrested as BTK. A 31-year hunt ended by a floppy disk he never should have sent, and a DNA match pulled from his own daughter's medical records. She never saw a single sign. To his neighbors in the quiet suburbs of Wichita, Kansas, Dennis Rader was the definition of civic duty. He spent his days as a municipal compliance officer for Park City, driving the streets to enforce local codes. On weekends, he led a local Cub Scout troop, teaching young boys outdoor survival. At Christ Lutheran Church, he rose to become the president of the Congregation Council, managing church business and welcoming families to Sunday service. He was a dedicated husband to his wife Paula, whom he married in 1971, and a protective father to their two children, Brian and Carrie. But underneath this carefully constructed public life lay a dark reality. For 17 years, while maintaining the appearance of a helpful neighbor and devout family man, Rader stalked and killed his fellow citizens. Between 1974 and 1991, he committed 10 murders in the Wichita area, targeting women, men, and children in their own homes. He slipped back into his quiet suburban routine after each crime, leaving no trace for investigators. For 3 decades, Rader lived this double life, completely unexposed, hiding his violent actions behind a mask of Midwestern normalcy. In March 2004, the BTK killer broke 13 years of silence by mailing a package to the Wichita Eagle. Over the next year, he sent 10 more packages, taunting the police and demanding media attention. In one of these letters, he asked a direct question: could a floppy disk be traced back to him? Investigators saw their opportunity. They placed a coded message in the local newspaper, falsely assuring him that floppy disks were completely secure and untraceable. Rader took the bait. In February 2005, he mailed a purple 3.5-inch Memorex floppy disk to the Wichita Fox affiliate, KSAS-TV. On the surface, the disk contained only a draft agenda for a church meeting. But when forensic examiners at the FBI's Computer Analysis Response Team used specialized software to scan the disk, they searched its unallocated space. There, they recovered a deleted Microsoft Word document. The file's hidden metadata was intact, listing the author as Dennis and the registered organization as Christ Lutheran Church. A simple search for Dennis at Christ Lutheran Church led investigators straight to Dennis Rader, the congregation's council president. A digital footprint, preserved in deleted code, had suddenly stripped the killer of his 30-year anonymity. Investigators now had a name: Dennis Rader. But digital metadata from a deleted floppy disk file was not enough to secure an arrest warrant for 10 murders. They needed biological proof linking Rader directly to the crime scenes. Because investigators could not openly request a sample from Rader without alerting him, they looked to his family. In early February 2005, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation obtained a subpoena for medical records from Kansas State University's Student Health Clinic. They focused on a routine Pap smear sample belonging to Rader's 26-year-old daughter Carrie, which was still stored in the university's files. Forensic analysts in Topeka extracted the DNA and performed a familial comparison, tracing the genetic markers that connect a child to their paternal line. When lab technicians compared the genetic markers from Carrie's sample to semen evidence recovered from the crime scenes, they found a near-perfect match. The science was absolute. The unknown male DNA left at the crime scenes belonged to Carrie's biological father. After 31 years of dead ends, investigators possessed the scientific confirmation they needed to make their arrest. On February 25, 2005, 26-year-old Carrie Rawson is in her Detroit-area apartment in Michigan. It is a quiet, ordinary Friday morning. She has slept in on a day off from her job as a substitute teacher, relaxing in her pajamas. The winter cold keeps the world quiet outside, and there is no reason to suspect that her life is about to change. Then, a loud knock sounds at her door. When she opens it, she finds a stranger standing in the hallway. He identifies himself as an FBI agent. Carrie is immediately tense, wondering why federal law enforcement is standing outside her apartment. The agent asks her a direct question.
"Do you know who BTK is?" She responds, "You mean the person wanted for murders back in Kansas?" Every family from Wichita knows the name, knows the fear that hung over the city for decades. Then, the agent says the words, "Your dad has been arrested as BTK." In a single second, the room spins. Carrie grips the wall next to her kitchen stove, fighting the sudden urge to pass out. The world around her seems to tilt on its axis. Dennis Rader is the loving father who taught her to fish, the Cub Scout leader, the dedicated president of Christ Lutheran Church. Now this officer is telling her that her father is the monster who bound, tortured, and killed 10 people. Her mind rejects it, but the agent's face remains absolutely serious. In this moment, the police investigation ends, and a personal catastrophe begins. An entire remembered childhood, built on 26 years of safety and trust, collapses inside that single sentence. The man she loved and trusted most is a stranger, and she is left standing in her kitchen, trying to survive the shock of a reality she never saw coming. The immediate reality of her father's double life meant retreating into absolute privacy. For nearly a decade, Carrie Rawson and her family withdrew from public view, hiding family photos and eventually moving to a new home. She struggled with severe post-traumatic stress, night terrors, and depression. The DNA sample that had solved the case, taken from her routine medical records without her knowledge or consent, initially left her feeling exposed and shaken. She chose therapy over exposure, maintaining a strict public silence and refusing to attend any of her father's court hearings out of respect for the victims' families. In August 2005, Dennis Rader stood before Judge Gregory Waller in Sedgwick County District Court. Facing the families of the 10 people he had murdered, Rader listened to testimonies of severe, unyielding grief. Beverly Plapp, the sister of victim Nancy Fox, testified that her sister's death was a wound that would never heal. Judge Waller sentenced Rader to 10 consecutive life terms, totaling a minimum of 175 years. With no possibility of parole, Rader was sent to the El Dorado Correctional Facility, where he remains incarcerated today at 78 years old. In 2014, Carrie broke her 9-year silence, sharing her story with the public for the first time. She later wrote a best-selling memoir, A Serial Killer's Daughter, detailing her path of reconciling her love for her father with the horror of his actions. Today, she uses her platform to advocate for trauma survivors, assist law enforcement with active cold cases, and support families whose lives have been shattered by a loved one's hidden violence. To hear more serious, factual accounts of American history and survival, please subscribe to the channel. Today, Carrie Rawson advocates for families rebuilding after unspeakable trauma. Her life leaves us with one unsettling reality, that extreme violence can wear the most ordinary, familiar face. Subscribe for more deeply researched American stories.